road show. We usually do this in our little rooms, but we're here at Fenway Park. Tom Caron from Ness and Alex Speier from the Boston Globe and Triston Casas from the Boston Red Sox. This is your home. So it's a road trip for us. Your home here. As we sit here, you are just beginning the long progression back. You've been giving the approval to go ahead and start swinging and all of that. But let's look back a little bit. What's it been like since late April, not being able to play this game? What are some of the things you have done, let's get right to it, to sort of ward off frustration, to make sure you don't go down that dark path? Like, what has this been like for you?
Right, this time has flown by. I look back and I'm like, man, 10 weeks, it feels like I just got hurt yesterday. But that's just a testament to how much the staff has been, making sure that I've been staying in a good mental space, how packed my days have been as well. I mean, from the time that I wake up to the time I go to sleep, I'm really grinding on anything that I can, just trying to find a way to get better every single day, every single moment. So from the time I wake up, I actually spend more time now at the field that I'm hurt, because I try to get all my stuff done out of the way by the time everybody gets in. So I'm getting in whatever times to make sure like training tables are all free and the weight room's all cleared up, because we are battling for space as it is up there. So as many guys in the weight room as we can fit, I try to stay out of everybody's way. And in the cages and stuff, obviously I haven't been in the cages, but want to make sure I get everything out of the way, because I've been tracking on the traject, so I try to get here early to do that. Weight rooms, training table stuff, even coming out here on the field and doing my grounding and stuff. So it's just been a whirlwind of emotions. I feel great now, though, thankfully. I saw the doctor 2 days ago and got the clear to start swinging yesterday, and took my first swings today. So it's been a really interesting type of sequence of events. I feel like this time has flown by, though.
Well, let's roll back on that, because one of the things that's super interesting is that like this is not a like stress fracture of the rib, right? Like this is the cartilage pulling off the rib cage, right? That's a strange injury. That's a strange non-contact injury. It's usually one that's seen as you've told us, in collisions or in car crashes. It's not a thing that usually happens with swinging. So like when you roll back and think about the fact that you're having trouble breathing as a result of the pain of this injury, like those first couple of days where you're having the doctor tell you, by the way, I've never really seen something exactly like this that came from swinging before. How much kind of uncertainty, how unsettling was it at the beginning?
That's a great question. I mean, there was so many things that was going on through my mind. How could I have prevented this? What could I have done differently? And then it shifted to, okay, what can I do to get healthy? So I feel like I put myself in a really good position to have a strong core to help support those cartilage and the ligaments and all the little intricacies that go into the midsection, because it is such a vital part of baseball and being a rotational athlete. So hearing those things, I mean, it was weird, because he told me 3 to 9 weeks, sometimes even longer, to feel back to normal. We're right about that timing right now on the longer side, but we wanted to be cautious about it, because it is such a grueling process to go through, and we're trying to avoid everything that we can to for it to not to happen again. But I mean, I don't want to say that I'm one of a kind or that I'm whatever, but that was kind of how the doctor made it seem to me. He didn't know what kind of things to recommend to me, because he had never seen something like it before. And he's still trying to figure it out in terms of what happened and how it did. But it was a really weird injury. Hopefully I don't wish it upon anybody, because it was very painful, quite traumatic. I mean, it's one thing for your arm to hurt when you throw, or
right,
your ankle to hurt when you run, but just laying down in bed or sitting on a couch and breathing and being in pain is pretty tough. So going through that for a couple weeks was tough. And getting back to swinging now, essentially it was a non-contact injury. I had it had happened before I made contact with the ball. It was just a crunch, a move that I had done 100,000 times, and it was just that one time, just something weird about it. But I feel great now, which is what matters.
Is there any concern that this happened because you swing, and you swing a lot, right? Like you spend a lot of time working the cage. You talk about how you spend time on traject. You come to the park early anyway for that pregame work. Is there concern that because you are a lot of your strength is derived from how you rotate your core, like the speed that you're able to generate through your midsection, rather than like selling out with a really long swing? Like your point is to remain compact and to generate the force through torque. Is there concern about like whether or not this is something that, surely you don't want to alter your swing? Is this something you're going to have to continue to contend with?
Right. No, I don't anticipate it. It's not something that I'm concerned about. It's not something that the staff, I feel like we've given it plenty of enough time to rest. The images yesterday that we looked at seemed clean, and, we're moving on a new bill of health, and hopefully this never happens again. But at the same time, I got to keep swinging that speed. I mean, that is what I'm expected to do, is to impact the baseball. What makes me good is my bat speed. I'm able to impact the ball, hit the ball at high velocities, and I'm able to let the ball travel and make decisions later. And that's a consequence of having good bat speed, but also being big and strong. There's a lot of things that go into swinging a bat. There's a lot of moving parts. So it's impossible to say if it will happen again. Hopefully, but then again, anything can happen when you swing a bat. So, but I'm not concerned with it. I'm going out there clean, free-minded, ready to swing the bat and hit the ball hard again.
When guys go through new injuries, I feel over the years covering them, they tend to reach out to other people. Pitcher getting Tommy John for the first time, we'll find other guys who have gone through this. Was there anybody out there for you to lean on? I mean, is there any comp for this injury in baseball that you were able to find and talk to?
Right. There's a couple guys in here have had oblique injuries, so that's really the most similar thing that I had found. But their advice was just to take it slow, because that is a grueling process. Anything with the midsection takes a lot of time to recover. So, but nothing in terms of what I had exactly. From what my understanding was from the doctor, he hadn't seen it, and even if he did, he couldn't disclose who it was. So I haven't been reached out to by anybody who's had it. I've had people who have had broken ribs, bone, tell me stuff and how they felt and the pain that they were enduring throughout their time having the injury, but nobody particularly with this specific injury that I could reach out to or even get some advice from. But I feel great now, which is what matters. We've
seen you visualize. I've seen you visualize more than I've seen a lot of people play baseball, right? Yeah. You are but that's a big part of your preparation. How has that helped you through this? Your mindfulness, your ability to somehow stay engaged in this sport even while not playing. I feel that's advanced compared to a lot of athletes. How do you think that helped you through this?
Right. I had teammates, guys in there asking me if I started swinging. I'm like, yeah, I started swinging as soon as I got hurt. I do them every single day in my mind. I take hundreds of swings. When I visualize, I work a lot on my eyes, right? I feel like the eyes are such an underrated muscle, part of your body that can actually dictate a lot in whether you hit the ball or not. Being able to slow the ball down, having depth perception and seeing the space in front of the ball is a super important quality to have as a baseball player. I think Buck Showalter, he jokes around about the color of the eyes that people have, and how that can dictate, the type of hitter that you are. He even said, go look at the batting title winners, what kind of color eye they have. So it's just, I feel like it's such an important part of your body, a part of hitting, because you can have the nicest swing in the world, the strongest, but if you don't have good eyes to hit the ball, you're not going to hit it. And then there goes, the mental part of it. Yeah, that is a physical part, being able to see, but then being able to go into an unconscious state, right? Something that, baseball players or people who go into sports call the zone. There's a lot of external factors in life, in baseball. There's a lot of things that go on outside of these walls that sometimes can affect people in the, on the field, in between the lines. But when you step into that box, for that 1 minute at a time, maybe 4 minutes a day, there has to be a spatial awareness that, yes, there is problems around me. There are a lot of things going on. There's plenty of people watching more at home on TV. How do I compartmentalize and just accept the vulnerability that comes with the humility of going out there and hitting, and being okay with whatever result happens and trying to have a reaction that would merit me acting like what happened was supposed to. So there's a lot that goes into it, for sure. It's more than meets the eye, but I try to be as prepared for whatever it is that comes my way as possible, and that's how I would go about doing that and feeling confident. So when I do swing a bat or when I do come back into a game, I don't feel like I missed any time and I hit the ground running.
I'm actually, it's there's so much to unpack there, but I want to pick up on the idea of hitting the ground running. You have seemed incredibly confident through the last couple of weeks of this, especially about how you can come back, how you do anticipate being able to have this be a relatively rapid process of getting back at full speed now that you're able to start swing the bat. But I want to roll back to the last time that you were significantly injured, which was in AAA. In Worcester, you were off to a terrific start in 2022. You then had a high ankle sprain that kept you sidelined for almost exactly 2 months. Like I said, great start. From that point, from the point that you returned forward, which was midsummer into early September when you got to make your major league debut, your numbers in Worcester were actually better, which was fascinating to me, right? You expect people to betray rust or to have a difficult time getting back up to speed. How much does the experience of having come back from an injury that sidelined you for a while play into the confidence that you can take into this one? And how much are you drawing on kind of a blueprint that you established that time?
Being taken away from the game, it provides a moment for perspective, right? When I came back to playing after that injury in 22 with my ankle, it became about 3 things. It was 1, did we win the game? 2, did I have fun? And 3, did I get carted off the field? And if all of those 3 things were in my favor, then it was a great day. At that point, it didn't matter if I got hits or if I did well, but it was just about the team and my health. And I feel like moments like this, where the game is taken away from me, and then I step back into it, I'm back into it with a different perspective, a different outlook, and that was kind of what jump-started that thought process, and kind of I've been carrying it ever since then into the games that I even was playing earlier this season and last year. So I'm going to continue that same thought process to just go out there and not focus on myself or how many hits I get. It's all about, did I have fun and did we win? That's the most important thing.
The other thing that's been interesting about your perspective over the course of this is that it does seem as if, like, you've obviously been very engaged with the game. It seems as if not that the game was fast for you, because obviously you're a super cerebral player anyway, but it does seem as if, I don't know, like there's this kind of awareness of things happening in the game and an opportunity to look at things globally a little bit. Like, you enter the Matrix, right? I don't know if you ever watched that movie. Maybe I'm dating myself. Okay, well, it might be a good one if you want to figure
Google
out,
it.
Are you able to suddenly have things that seem rapid sometimes slow down in terms of the way that you're able to watch them unfold?
That's something that I try to do every day, and right when I got called up, my first game against Yankees, I was able to do well in that game. I hit a home run, and when I got on first, that was when I realized, like, baseball's truly a fraternity. The man himself, Aaron Judge, we would go back and forth, and he's told me a lot of things about hitting and about what he tries to think about when he goes up there. But the thing that sticks with me the most is he told me, you got to figure out a way to try to make 103 look like 93 and 93 look like 83. That was the best advice that I could have gotten, because it really reflects the type of hitter that he is as well, where he just starts early, just loads, gets up to a hanging point, and then gets the foot down and tries to have as smooth a swing as possible. So that's what I try to do with my eye training, where I'll try to slow that process down as much as possible and try to actually look at the space in front of the ball instead of the ball itself. Because if you're just looking at the ball itself, it's moving so fast that the images that your brain is perceiving are behind the actuality of the ball's velocity coming in. So slowing the ball down, controlling the environment around me, those are all very, very regular things that I do on a daily basis. But yeah, it's something that I try to train as much as possible through just doing it in a controlled environment, so I can try to go out there and do it in an uncontrolled one.
I had a lot of conversations with Trevor Story before the season about leadership. We talked a lot about leadership in this script. Remember, a couple different times he said to me, watch Triston Casas. He's developing into a leader. 24-year-old guy, you don't claim leadership, right? You grow into the leadership group. Talk a little bit about that, how different that has been, certainly before the injury, but even how you've been able to stay engaged with this team. It's a very young team. Suddenly you're not much younger than the rest of the team, right? It's a young team around you. You are part of that leadership group now. Is that different? Are you just being yourself and those things kind of fall into place? Is that something you strive to be? Take us through a little of that process from being the new kid on the block to part of a leadership group of a major league team.
Right. I mean, I guess it started in high school. My freshman year of high school, I mean, I would see how the seniors would treat me, and I would just tell myself that I'm going to do it differently when I get older. When I'm a junior, when I'm a senior, I'm going to do things differently, where like people would tell me what to do and how to do it. And they would, I'm not going to say that they would haze me or shame me or do any of that, but it was just like, it wasn't the type of leadership that I wanted to exemplify. So when I was a junior, when I was a senior in high school, it was more a, help me with this. I'm not going to make you do this with me. It was a fraternity. It was just a group setting. It wasn't an individualized pointing out. So since I've gotten into pro ball, I've always felt like I've just tried to control what I can control. I try to show up early. I try to do the right things, treat people with respect, and everything else was going to fall in line. I hold myself accountable for my actions, which in a way allows me to hold other people accountable for their actions. If I don't treat people the right way, and if I'm not doing the right things, and I'm not playing the game the right way, and I'm not doing things that I need to, nobody's gonna even value the word that I say, let alone want to follow me in my path of greatness per se. So I think just doing whatever I feel is best for me and fighting for what I believe in gives the people around me or in the clubhouse or the younger guys a little bit of freedom to be who they want to as well. And I don't want them to follow me. I want them to follow themselves. And by them following themselves, they might be following me because I follow myself. I have a gut feeling that certain things are right for me in the right time and the right place. And I think logically, and I have reason for what I do. And I feel like as long as guys do that, they can go about how they could go about things however they want to. I don't assume any type of role, but eventually, if you do the things the right way for enough time and you get good results, people should follow if they want similar ones. All the things that I do at a certain point, I was taught by somebody. Everything, I'm a product of my environment and everybody around me. So I've taken things from everybody, which is what I want to leave for the people behind me and even the people that are here. I want them to take, quote unquote, the tools of the Titans is all.
It's interesting because you kind of let people, I think you're encouraging people to have the freedom to find their own path, but at the same time, I was just up in Portland in AA a couple of days ago, and over there you now have several of the players engaging in mindfulness meditation on the field before the game. So it is interesting to see that areas in which you, I think, have kind of struck out on your own, in which you have given yourself the freedom to pursue yourself. Other people have followed suit.
Right, and those aren't things that I invented.
Yeah.
Those aren't things that I made up. Those are things that I took from somebody else, and I just take them to the nth level because I, feel like they help me so much that I do them on a daily basis, and that, that shows consistency, and then that breeds success. It's a funny thing because I had the bobblehead night, May 14th, which is a pose of me doing a Pilates exercise. And I remember my first day here, my major league debut, I go into AC's office and he tells me, "Hey, I'm proud of you. Keep doing what you're doing. Don't change." I said, "Okay, I'm going to go outside and I'm going to do the same thing that I had been doing for 5 years in the minor leagues that nobody's ever given me a problem about." So I go outside and I do my thing, and all of a sudden the pitchers that day, which some of them are still on this team, it's funny, they tell me, "Hey, you can't do that." And then I come into the top step and there's a coach that's no longer here who told me, "Hey, that was funny, but don't ever do that again." And then I have people telling me, "Don't do that, don't do that, don't do that." And 18 months later, I have a bobblehead of me doing that exact same thing. So, and it's not because of the results that I have on the field, or it's not because of the Rookie of the Year finish or whatever I've done on the field. It's just because of the consistency I have with it. I do it every single day, whether I want to or not, whether it's sunny or not, whether I feel like it or not. I do it, and if you can at least appreciate the play that I have on the field, there's at least a little bit of honor and the consistency that I have in my routine.
And I think you resonate with fans because of that. I don't remember I told you at spring training we were talking about setting you up for shows, something. I said, I just want to tell you, my 2 young sons think you're great for that very reason, right? We all try to teach our kids to be true to yourself in whatever you're pursuing in life, right? You have younger kids, right? Don't do what everybody else tells you to, for good or bad, right? Find your own path. And I think baseball has traditionally had a way of sanding down everyone's edges, right? You got to fit in. You got to be you can't be a round peg in a square, whatever it is, right? But you've forged your own path and stayed true to who you are, and the success has come, right? And so then you get the pat on the back with the success. But you wouldn't have changed if you were struggling. I think that's a long way to get to. I see fans really appreciating you. Have you felt that? Like, I feel you have a very unique connection with the fans of Boston, not just because you're a successful member of the Boston Red Sox, but because of who you are and how you let your vulnerability show and you let your personality show. And I think they appreciate that. Do you feel that?
Right, and that was one of the things I said about it, consistency, whether I'm playing well or whether I'm not, or, unfortunately, whether the team's doing well or whether we are. I don't deviate from my routine. I don't get my confidence from results. I get it from my preparation, which is because of my routine, which gives me confidence. That's the order of events for me, and I do it in a way where I don't get in anybody's way, or I don't hinder anybody from their path. I go out on my own, and I try to make it a point to get out of everybody's way, which is why it's almost it's unprecedented, because I do it so far away from everybody's, because I try to stay out of the way, which is almost a bad thing, I guess, because it's like I'm not with the team. I try to get out of everybody's way, but I just that's the order of events for me, and it has nothing to do with the results I get on the field, because baseball is it's a very, very skewed game, and it's tough to draw confidence from results, because it's the only thing that you can do everything right and still have a bad result, and have a bad process and get a good result. So it's how do I justify a line drive out to shortstop and then a squibber up the third base line for a hit, or JD's night the other night was beautiful. He had the line out to right, he had the line out to short, and then he gets the pop-up hit double for on the infield, and then comes up with the winning base hit. That's a credit to him staying in the game, hustling out of the box on that double, and then staying in it enough to get that game-winning hit after we had an amazing comeback. So that's baseball right there, and he's doing great this year as well.
I will ask about. It's interesting to think about Caron, in part because you guys were part of the same draft class in 2018. And I realized that you didn't really play together at, he went straight to Lowell back when that was a thing. And you were barely in the Gulf Coast League before you got banged up. But got to be together in Instructs that year. What's it been like to watch kind of so many pieces of, it's kind of like a Rubik's Cube coming together for him right now, right? Where all of a sudden a lot of the sides are starting to resolve at the same time. What's that been like for you as someone who's known him and played with him across multiple levels over 6 years?
Right. He's one of the first people I met. We went to the Instructs in Dominican in 2018, and we spent 2 weeks there together, and I got to know him very well. The JD I know is, opening up 2019, hitting 400 in the first half in high A. So I'm not surprised by anything he's doing. That is the kind of player he is. And in AAA, he showed power, and in high A, he showed contact. Struggled a little bit in AA, but then went to AAA and turned it around. And then, has had his ups and downs here in the big leagues, but now is showing the prolific offensive, defensive, base running monster that he can be. And I'm super proud of him, because he exemplifies a lot of the qualities that I try to as well. Just sticking true to yourself and not worrying about what other people say, having a lot of humility. And I'm really proud of him and how everything's going for him, because he deserves it.
You've been the leader of his All-Star campaign, right? Like, that was unbelievable when you were on the air, reeling up.
Let the record show. You said it on Nesson first.
Yeah.
I know everybody pays attention to ESPN because of the national, but you did sort of warm up to the task.
Had you researched,
just took it to the next level.
Had you researched when you were giving the year-by-year strikeout rate?
I went on the first time that we talked about Willier, and we talked about Rafi, and then we talked about T.O. But I was ready to say all those facts that day, which I left that interview really frustrated. I was like, man, I can't believe I studied all that and I didn't get to say it. So then the next time comes, and then I get cut off because I had more stuff to say.
That's right.
I had more stuff to say.
You were literally launching in a couple more stats as they went to break.
And then that night I was even more frustrated because I was like, I had the chance and I started it and I didn't even finish it, which is worse than not even doing it. And then I got on ESPN and I was like, okay, I'm doing it. I gotta. This is it.
You were not going to be denied.
I talked about the defense. I talked about the base running, the games, this and that, which like I was gonna do on the Nesson, but I didn't get the chance to. Which was why I was like, all right, we need to talk about JD that one time. I was
had a longer inning.
Yeah.
The team kept going.
Yeah, the second time we got to 2 outs quick, and I was like, yeah, enough about me. We need to talk about JD because I knew it.
It was so good.
And I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna get another chance to do this, but yeah, he's. I mean, I could pretty much say the same things now. He might even be leading.
It's only a 90-minute podcast. We don't have time.
Oh, okay.
But we all agree with that. But I got to ask you about that ESPN appearance because you tell the story right out of the gate about your father, right? What was the reaction? I mean, I saw a New York Post story about it the next day. Like, did your phone blow up that night? Like, what happens after that?
That was crazy. So I'm standing right here, and they put the mic in my ear, and Eduardo, and I don't know if it was Carl up there. Yeah, they said, hey, can you hear us? I'm like, yeah. They're like, okay, cool, we can't hear you. Grab the mic from the guy next to you. I grabbed the mic. I'm like, okay, can you hear me now? He's like, yes. So actually, we don't have any questions for you. This is your half inning. You can do whatever you want with it. And I'm looking up at the timer. There's 1 minute left. I hear 30 seconds till we're live. They're like, this is your time to shine. Whatever you want to say, you can say it. If you want to ask your teammates questions in the dugout, you can ask them. If you want to go in the stands, you have that cameraman follow. You have the cameraman following you, and you can do whatever you want. I said, man, I wasn't prepared for this. I mean, I was prepared for the Nesson. I was expecting a headset and to just sit right here and answer some questions about how I was feeling and, let me go about the day. But, yeah, they said, okay, we're live and we're here with Triston, whatever. How's it going? And I said, wow, this is it right here. Let me talk about something relevant. Let me talk about Father's Day. Let me acknowledge Father's Day. And I had the mic in my ear, so I had just heard AC talk about his father and his favorite memory of his dad. So I said, okay, let me go ahead and talk about my favorite memory of my dad, which I called my dad after the game, and he's like, man, you couldn't have told another story. We have so many and stuff. But he's like, yeah, you couldn't have told another story. I'm like, I don't think anybody's looking to offer you for a job right now, Dad. Don't worry. But it's true. I wanted to get an icebreaker. I wanted to provide some comedic relief, but I also wanted to tie in a lesson, right? And that day that happened so long ago when I was a little kid, Dad taught me a huge lesson that day, which he was willing to go to those lengths to prove to me, that I had a responsibility to everybody who was there in that field that day, whether it was my teammates, my fans, my coaches. I mean, on such a small scale, but he needed to prove that to me, and it's something that I think about all the time, which is why it was the first thing that I thought of, because I come into the dugout mad, upset. I never display it, though. I never throw my helmet. I never throw my bat. My dad always told me, he's like, if you want to hit something, hit your head against the wall, because it's not the bat's fault and it's not the helmet's fault. So he's like, hit your head against the wall. So I never throw my stuff. I never get upset, but sometimes I just kind of come into the dugout and I just deal with things on my own, and I just kind of go into a meditative state. But I'm like, okay, like I gotta go finish the job. Like I gotta go out there, and I have an obligation to everybody who showed up to go out there, give my 100%. And that was what he taught me that day. And I didn't know I was gonna tell that story until right that second. Like it wasn't something that was planned. And then yeah, the rest of the interview happened. I don't even know what happened. Bayo came out with the jersey, which was great because I needed the time to fill, so that was a little skit too, which was cool. But
Dominic Smith didn't seem thrilled about the interview after
I mean, that's as close as you can come to hitting a home run. If you would have rolled into a double play or struck out, I wouldn't have done that. But when Eduardo suggested, hey, why don't you go over and ask him, I said, yeah, I mean, that was a good hit, like a little jammed, but 2-strike cutter inside off I don't remember who it was not terrible swing, so I didn't think it was like too out of pocket to go over
No,
there
it's
and
just
ask him.
I thought he was fine in the interview, but the look
Right,
as you
right.
walked in, I know. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, I know. It caught him off guard, and I talked to him about it later. He's like, yeah, but just like in the moment, he wasn't expecting that. But yeah,
It was fun.
Right,
But isn't that, fun's okay. Like I feel like that would be part of your Wikipedia page when it's all said and done. It's okay to have fun in a baseball game, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's hard work.
absolutely,
You guys are grinding.
Yeah,
it's okay
absolutely.
To have
A couple guys on the bench, they were like, "Oh, thank God you didn't come ask us a question because we didn't want to talk." They're like, we're all confused what was going on and why you were talking so much. But if you like Jared Carabas, he tweeted, he's like, "Oh, I don't think they've asked Casas a question yet," and I'm like, "Yeah, that's because they said they weren't going to." So I figured, all right. This is my time to
Every
say
great
whatever I
comedian
want.
has an origin story. There it is.
Right.
That night on ESPN was the beginning of your career.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I got a lot of good feedback from it. Nobody really gave me a hard time for what I said. And that night, it was the next night, Monday night, which Celtics won.
Yeah.
And I was watching the post game, I guess, celebratory announcements and the whatever.
On the stage. And
so
all that.
Jimmy Kimmel was after. Yeah. And I saw my interview on Jimmy Kimmel that day. And I'm sitting there, and I'm just sitting by myself. I was like, hey, that's pretty cool. You know, so it was something like that. And, like, he made a joke about it, but I don't care. It was just cool. But, yeah, it's just, I didn't think it was inappropriate because I tied a lesson to it. So I thought it was funny.
You've shortlisted yourself to be a guest on Kimmel in the future. I attended a Kimmel shoot earlier this season.
Cool. As a guest?
Not as a guest, no guest. But so it's you have done a good job of balancing, like, of allowing yourself not to be miserable over the course of like this time of being on the sidelines. But to bring it full circle, like, how much have you been anticipating that moment when you are able to get back in the batter's box and compete and do the thing that you love to do and that you spend so much time thinking about? Like, how much are you looking forward to that kind of fun?
Oh man, that's a great question. I think about it all day, every day. That's all I'm doing, you know, here, whether the team's on the road, you know, I stay here and I walk around the field and I stand in the batter's box and then I go in the bullpen and, you know, I get to traject and then I see the hitter and, I mean, I see the pitchers and, you know, I'm walking around the facility. You know, nobody's here or everybody's here, and it's just excitement. I just have a lot of excitement to get back out there. I'm itching too, but I don't want to use that to my downfall or to my demise. You know, I want to make sure this heals with as much excitement and anticipation as I have to getting back. I hear it on my phone. I hear it from my teammates. Hey, we're looking forward to you coming back. You know, we need you, this and that. And I'm like, yeah, I know. I'm trying. Don't think that I'm not. You know, so I hear it from a lot of people. But you know, I'm just trying to, you know, stay within myself and just come back when everything's right and. Yeah, hit the ground running, like I said.
And they've been stealing bases, stealing games, kind of stealing some hearts here along the way. Did you see this coming? I know every team believes as they break camp that they can do something special. But did you see this kind of young energy coming together as quickly as it has?
Yeah, absolutely. I said it in spring training to the media when they were like, are you surprised at the lack of moves or whatever? And I'm like, the guys who are upset that we didn't make moves are upset because maybe they know the people that are on the market and maybe they are attracted to them or the person or the type of leadership skills that they can bring, whether it's a veteran leader, whether it's an impact player. But I said I like the depth that we have within this organization. Those guys who are upset about that know those people, but I know these people that we have in our minor league organization. I know the people in AAA because I played with them and the people that I've come up with. So I was really happy with the crew that we had together, whether it was the 40-man or whether it was the AAA or whether it was an active roster, all the way down, all the guys. I mean, they're all contributing, even Romy. So everybody's doing their part. Jamie came up for a couple days and he banged. You know, Barrelman did his thing. You know, so we're firing on all cylinders. Everybody's playing their game. AC's pushing all the right buttons, getting guys into great positions. So no, I'm not surprised to answer your question.
I think that you know, again, getting to that question of anticipation, there are a lot of people who are going to be super excited about seeing you back in the lineup. Like, how confident are you about this team's ability to stay in the race as you get back in the lineup? How excited are you to be part of, you know, what you probably think is, you know, turbocharging what you guys have been doing in getting right into the, you know, secure, like being in position where the postseason is a reality, right, as opposed to just a theoretical construct.
Right. That has to do with 29 other teams, and I don't know the dynamic that they have, or, how close-knit of a group they have, but I know we're as tight as ever in there, and we're going to continue playing this baseball, and I don't even think we've hit our best stretch yet. Everybody's playing well, but nobody's playing great, and I think we can get to that next level of greatness, and hopefully I'm in the lineup to be a part of it. But, I don't think we've seen our best baseball yet.
Celtics were here Monday. Had the championship trophy, the first Boston championship since you've been a part of all this. We've gotten jaded. It's been like 5.5 years. That's a long time in Boston.
Right.
Okay, we're not used to a drought like that around here. It used to be different, right? But now the expectations of this city are rolling the duck boats, right? That's the idea. You get to see this city come to life like that. Did that leave any kind of mark on you, any kind of taste of what you guys could someday be part of?
Right. I heard an interview from Brad Stevens that said that was his favorite part of the whole process was the Duck Boat Parade, whether it was, the championship celebration after or whatever, partying or whatever. He said Duck Boat Parade was his favorite thing. And to see the city light up, and I had a bunch of friends that were there, and, to see their stories about it and hear how much fun that they had. I'm just itching to bring that back. It's something that I've been dreaming about since I signed, and won't let go until it happens, and then when it happens, I'll try to do it again.
You know a story about Jake Peavy, right? He bought a duck boat after the parade. Actually bought one of the boats, brought it to his ranch in Alabama.
I didn't hear that. No, I didn't.
And now it's on. And what did they do? What did he buy from the San Francisco? He bought a trolley car.
Okay,
So
okay.
on his ranch, he's got a trolley car from the championship in San Francisco and a duck boat.
I did hear that actually, and when I heard that he bought the duck boat, I was like, oh, he bought it for the day for his family, like to be on it, because he wanted a personal duck boat within the parade to have his family go on. I didn't realize that it was to come home.
His whatever beer that day, he looked at the person, I'm buying this duck boat. And they're like, yeah, whatever. And then he got off and wrote a check.
Okay. I thought it was just for the day.
No,
but
aspirational goals. There you go.
Cool.
You got something to shoot for. This is really fun. We appreciate it. It's going to be fun now watching you take those next steps. Good luck.
Thank you.
And, enjoy thinking of amphibious vehicles as well as you do so.
We're here to educate.
Okay.
310 Left Podcast, Triston. We really appreciate the time. For Alex Speier, I'm Tom Caron. Thanks for catching us this time. We'll catch you next time.